Hello everybody, this is Kirshaw here, and I am redoing this part. Now, what I mean by redoing is, well, I tried to record it. Oh my god, why is there noise now? As soon as I begin recording, there's noise. Now, as soon as I got done recording last episode, I found that my mic came unplugged. But it was still in my phone, so that was a bit annoying. Now, basically it wasn't fully connected. So let's begin. When we last left off, Deku, he just, saved Mina and Kirishima and introduced them to everyone else, along with explaining why they can't go to Earth yet. Now, as he would set coordinates for Planet 4, he would just pull up a screen of the planet. As everyone's looking at it, people are just saying that that's pretty cool, and it's a very beautiful planet. Kirishima would just say that that looks like Earth. Huh. Actually, as Deku actually does look into the database. He would pull up a picture of Earth and exactly see what it has. Huh, you're right. Jeez. Starting to forget what the place looks like. As Mina is just staring at Deku. They just turn their heads to see that everyone's staring at the screen. Even Mei and Momo. Those two are usually too busy to even look up from anything. It's a bit nostalgic. As someone will finally speak up. So, what are we going to do after this? Well, I'm guessing we're going to stand trial. Trial? Well, yeah. That or we're going to have a challenge. Basically, I'm pretty sure they want us to fight somebody. If not, do something else for them. With that, Deku, he would just say one thing. If they can get the engineers' heads and bring them back, they will basically at least have some ground with the predators, if not get on speaking terms with some of the people. So they'll at least have a good chance of actually speaking out and explaining themselves, since no one will listen. Now then, with that being said, Deku, he would just go on saying that this is going to be a bit weirder, since, they now have two new people who are unblooded. What the hell's an unblooded? You. Means you've never killed anything. What? As Deku would just lift up his hair. She would see the mark on his forehead as she turns, seeing everyone pull up their hair, showing the mark. Now, she basically says that they're all crazy. You're in space. Fair point. Now, with that, Deku would just say that they are probably hungry, so they should at least get some food. As Deku would just take them to the kitchen and go through a lot of different categories. He would just say that there's the raptor, but it's frozen, so it's gonna take a minute to thaw out. Or, as he would just turn asking if they ever put the raptor in the deep freeze. They would just say that they put it in stasis. Now that works. Now, after that, Deku would just go over some of the things they have in the food, the kitchen basically. Because this ship was somewhat redesigned to feel more, not human, but more comfortable. Since you basically would have humans eating together because of human habits, like the fact that if they don't have a human interaction, it starts affecting their behavior and other things. Because that's actually a, crew exercise they practice on the International Space Station, I believe. The fact being that they all have their meals together and talk with one another. Now, with that being said, Deku, he would just say that they have a couple things in the kitchen. It's, here is one of them. as he would just hold up a giant, well, this looks like it could be, it's kind of weird because it's basically like a glowing liquid in a plastic straw. They're not even sure what this is, as Deku would just say that this is, well, it's kind of weird to say, so y'all just snack. As he just put it back in the fridge, pulling out something else. They would just say no to it as they go through everything. A green pie, well, some weird blue jerky, some death sticks. Wait, how did those get there? This is the wrong universe. Okay, that's enough. They would eventually settle on the raptor. Now, do anyone who knows what death sticks are from? They're from Star Wars. It's pretty funny. I brought it in because I had those pop into my head. Now, I saw a meme of it earlier. Let's begin. They would just essentially settle on the raptor, and Deku would just walk over to the stasis area and just chop off its tail. As he walks back in, saying that this is going to be, this is essentially the best part of the raptor. How do you know this? We've had to eat a few of these creatures before. As he just shows them the right ways to prepare it and actually helping them do so. As everyone's just helping Deku prepare and eat the food. These two are just looking down at their plates, seeing, this weird pile of meat, as they look around, seeing that everyone's just eating like normal. Finding it very odd, Kirishima would just put his fork into it as he brings it up and eats it. He says that this is very weird. It tastes like chicken and pork. Huh? That can't be real. As Mina just does the same, finding the same result. Wait, that's what chicken tastes like? What's a chicken? Wait, wasn't it those little, it's those little things with, the red things on their head, and, they have white feathers, and they're got wings on them, right? You guys have been in space for far too long. Now, with that being said, they would be doing some training, and Kirishima would be introduced to Bakugo's explosions, as he'd be sparring off with Bakugo, actually getting a bit stronger. Now, over this time, Momo would actually introduce the idea of making masks and actual suits for them, as this planet's atmosphere will be a bit harsher than any place they've been to, requiring actual, it's a harsher atmosphere, so they will need respirators, if not some actual breathing mask and suits. Now, I want to say, Yaoja, since I don't really see them doing that whole big, bulky spacesuit, they could just wear a very thin layer of a titanium suit. I don't know why, because, this would not really protect you in a situation. Like a full-on bodysuit of this stuff. That's where I see it actually helping you. Or at least something like this, but it just covers all the skin. Now then. Essentially, they would Momo would create 2 extra suits, along with the fact that she would give them some actual mask. These at least mimic the Predators, but, they basically are Predator mask. Now, she would just say that they'll need them to at least breathe on the planet. As they would just say that this is still very crazy. Well, yeah, but anyway. She would just look over to Mina, saying that she made hers for her in particular. You should still be able to use your quirk. Huh? What about me? Well, yours I believe can stretch a little, so you should at least be able to harden. Now, after saying that, Kirishima would just harden his arm, as the actual suit stretches around it. But you can just see the, jagged spots where the harder spots poke out. He just looks down at this thing that's awesome. Mina just holds out her hand as she would go to spray acid. People would immediately freak out as she's spraying it around and, it doesn't do anything. Huh, I really can. Why did you do that? What? Spray acid? It's fine. Huh. It's not eating through the hole, so we should be good. Why? Well, sorry about that. It's just... alien blood eats through anything. Really? Well, yeah. It's very hard to stop. It eats through flesh, bone, metal, and I believe it can, well, I believe they're acid proof. Huh. That's frightening. Now, they would all eventually arrive on the planet as they would land. Deku walking out and immediately just looking around, scanning. This is whenever he would just point to that direction, as he would just say that they have, well, basically from scanning the area from scanning the area in space, they found the engineers. Along with that, they would just begin by getting ready and actually moving out. Actually running around, trying to find all these engineers. They would find that there has been more than in the report suggested. Also the fact that Mina and Karashima, these two were not related, if not involved with anything, including the Bad Bloods. They'd find that very suspicious. As Deku would just, well, take note of that. Along with the fact that he would just tell everyone that this is not well planned out. Their information was flawed. Now, that being said, Deku, he would eventually see that there's an engineer, and they're surprised exactly how tall these things are. Now, Mina, she immediately looks up, seeing one as this thing is huge. It's 10 feet tall. It's like a giant. Now, eventually, this is whenever Deku, he would just be, well, he's playing a bit of a trick on it by distracting it and actually going to slice it or take it down. The engineer would take aim as he sees where someone is, if not he saw movement. He goes over to check it out as Deku would just lunge from the bushes, slashing off its arm and bringing a wrist blade up, slashing off its head. As it falls backwards, its head would hit the ground first, then its body, and Deku would just pick up this gun. He's actually holding onto it, finding that it's got a pretty good weight to it. This looks pretty good. May, do you know of any Yaoja tech like this? Actually, I'm not sure. That looks fairly complicated. Fairly? So it's at least pretty advanced. Got it. As he would just hand it over to May. She would just put it onto her back, as they would begin running again. Now then, eventually after trading off the gun, if not carrying it, they would find the actual place the engineers are hiding. Now, they would do so and they would just be looking around. They have 24 heat signatures. And Deku would just go on saying one thing to them, as he just, starts to camouflage his own body. They were watching him somewhat disappear as he still is visible. He would just say to them that they basically need to have targets. Even you two. You two need to become blooded, otherwise you may not survive this. Why? The Yaoja don't really take the word of an unblooded very, good. They don't believe it's trustworthy and reliable. I can't believe I'm doing this. Well, you gotta believe it. This is a bit different from, what's the phrase on Earth? Crap, it's from a movie. I think I know what one you're talking about. It's an old one, involves red shoes. I think it's that one, yeah. But anyways, you're not on Earth anymore. This is space, and these guys are gonna kill us if we don't kill them. Now, Deku, he would just immediately run into the room, as he is stealth up. Well, he's in his stealth mode. He would just immediately begin by taking off and actually killing 2 engineers by decapitating them. Now, with that being said, Deku would just watch as everyone else begins running in and actually starting to take aim and firing at them. A lot of these people are trying to fight back, but with their quirks, they would be able to overpower them. Kirishima actually fighting and taking an engineer down, as whenever it does punch at him, he does just get sent flying backwards, but he would just come back in. Now, with that being said, crap, I did not go over this explanation, but while I'm talking about Kirishima, when he was younger, he saw a predator kidnap somebody, but he didn't interact with it. He saw it, but it just stuck with him because he froze. So he somewhat gave up on being a hero. Until whenever he got that whole thing about Red Riot, he opened it immediately. Just immediately feeling great and actually wanting to be just like him. But he didn't dye his hair then. He at least did start training his quirk. So he did have extra time of training it. Now he's on an alien planet fighting against a 10-foot tall man. He would immediately rush in as he does form his hand into a spear, stabbing it up into the engineer's side as it would immediately just scream out in pain, just trying to smash its hand down at him. Mina would just immediately just jump in as she would just grab onto his hand, trying to hold it back, but even then, that's not working. Kirishima would just bring his hand out as he's trying to help her, and she would just immediately start by spraying acid, covering the entire man's arm. As he begins to scream even further, finding that is not very good. The man would fall backwards as he is now slowly but surely dying of blood loss. Everyone's somewhat watching this, but they're too busy with their own things. Deku would just come over, actually just handing over his knife, telling him that hunters don't let their prey suffer. You're messed up. Well, he's gonna die anyway, so don't let him be in pain about it. Now, this is whenever the engineer, he does try and swing at her, and he actually just tried knocking her away. But whenever she does try coming down with a knife, he would have been able to actually bash her in the head and send her flying. As her her face mask is now broken. As that happened, she would hit a wall and fall to the ground, as she actually does begin coughing and gasping for air. Deku would just run over to her, just checking to see if the mask is actually broken, finding a hole straight through the nose, as he would just take off his own, handing it to her, as she just takes a deep breath. Deku just immediately just starts to choke on his own, he just starts to choke on his own breath, as he is just, feeling the effects of it more. As he does start taking deeper breaths, adapting to the environment. He actually does find that he's able to breathe in this atmosphere, but he does get a bit more muscular and get a bit bigger. If not, he went from being around 5 feet to, actually no, I want to say, they're like 10 to 11 years old. I want to say they're about not 10 feet. They're about 5 feet tall, if not around there. Now, Deku, he would just get a little bit taller, going up to 7 feet. As he actually does watch as Mina gets up off the ground, looking for Deku's knife, finding it, walking over and stabbing it directly into the engineer, killing him. As Deku begins to cheer, if not scream. Now, with that being said, Kirishima is just watching this happen, as an engineer would actually just try running up behind him, punching him into the back. As soon as that happened, Kirishima would just hardened up as he turns around, bringing his arms up as the man pulls his sidearm. As soon as that happens, Momo actually just throws a tool straight for the engineer, cutting off his hand. She threw the blades, if not the five-bladed Death Star, the five-bladed Ninja Star. Whenever she threw it, she took off his hand, telling Kirishima to fight him. Kirishima just panics for a second as he does look around, hardening his hand, trying to punch at the engineer, eventually picking up his sidearm and actually just firing into him, killing him as everyone begins to cheer once again. They took out all 24 engineers, and they would begin to collect their heads. Now, whenever they do get back to the ship, they would just, whenever they are able to get into the breathable atmosphere, they would just watch as Deku, whenever he does readapt to breathe properly, they do watch him actually just hit the ground for a second, coughing up quite a bit of blood. And he would have to be taken to the medical bay. With that, they would basically set the ship back to, basically they'd have to put the coordinates in for the ship, sending them back to the mother one. Well, the mothership. Now, this is whenever May, she's just completely astounded at this technology, as they picked up quite a bit of rifles and sidearms, and whatever they could. So those men were not completely defenseless. She actually does look at one, as she's just examining it, seeing what it can do, as she would just see that this thing's run on batteries. She would just say that she can take them apart, as everyone just basically shouts no. Well, why? Those things are plasma, remember? Yeah? So if you take one apart improperly, what happens? Oh, right. You kinda disintegrate. Yeah, or you get fully, or you burn alive. Either way, those are not fun options. Now, eventually May, she would just go over some different information while she's trying to, keep her mind busy off the sidearms and the rifles from taking one apart. She actually is going through information on her mask, as she would just say stop. Go back past the 3, the 4, and the 7. As she actually is looking at code. Someone slipped something in, if not they edited information that they received. Basically, it showed that the information received was edited. When it was edited was before it was received from the Elder. They would see that the information said that the two humans are possibly involved with bad bloods, so they may be a big problem and to execute them. When in fact, that was incorrect. Along the fact that they would see that the other information was that the engineers, there were only 3 of them. Being improperly numbered, they would have thought that, one person can just go in and take out an engineer. Or they could all just go in taking out the engineers, very simply. But even then, that was incorrect, as they did have an all-out war with engineers, and only being lucky with only select few of them being handed firearms, and in fact being able to slowly take them down stealthily, until they had to resort to open combat. Now then, May is looking at this as she realizes that they were set up for failure. Even then, they went through pretty well. Now, that is where I'm going to be leaving it off of, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.